sessions and interviews with 35 respondents, including elders, religion as a side of we found that the faith serves as a practice by emphasizing their boundless for and moral utilitarian and moral supports unbelievable. As one elder noted that none gives them dignity and teaches them what they are not, that they are not outsiders in the society. This internalization of religion acts as a politics of self-respect, similar to the Hunter in socio-political balance. The movement is deeply political. The number or prayer house is focused on worship. This is a space where leaders call for unity, education, and representation. The community strategically navigates labels like plague tribe or religious minority plague tribes. Religious communities often work with Adivasi students associations to advocate for civil rights students. This turns spiritual reform into a coherent project for political inclusion. Then they are also gender and youth dynamics. The dharma is evolving while historically men-led women now take devotional singing and welfare initiatives. Furthermore, the youth see dharma as a moral philosophy for progress, encouraging education and community services. This internal reform ensured that the faith remains a dynamic cultural resource. In conclusion, this paper has explored the intricate interplay between religion, identity, and inclusion through the lens of rural communities' engagement with foreigners. The study shows that the movement is neither a derivative of mainstream Hinduism nor a mere cultural survival mechanism. It is a creative re-articulation of belief as a mode of citizenship. By reinterpreting non-verbal, the Quran can transform their emotional practice into a vehicle for political consciousness and cultural continuity. Their movement underscores the agency of marginalized groups to negotiate their place within the state without surrendering their distinctiveness. It reveals how faith-based ethics can become a framework for democratic inclusion, offering an alternative vision of modernity grounded in moral and communal integrity. That uh, in present context, in a volatile social political context marked by ethnic tension and exclusionary nationalism, the Ekparan Foreign Government stands as a testament to the resilience of indigenous spirituality and its potential to foster global coexistence. It, it furthers the further research will extend this inquiry through comparative studies across Adivasi religious movements in Northeast India, and also exploring how faith continues to shape and be shaped by the politics of
Thank you, Mr. Yamaguru, for your presentation. We have time for if anybody wants to put a comment or question, they can put it in the chat. We'll be only able to take one. So if there is any, please put it in the chat. And meanwhile, may I request Ms. Polemic Ghosh, if you have a slide, then please share it with us. And then when I say, then you can start the presentation. So while Ms. Polemic Ghosh is getting ready with her presentation, I would like to invite if there are any comments or suggestions or questions, please pose them to Mr. Guru. Okay, in case there are none, I would like to thank again Mr. Yuva Guru and Dr. Karaki Panch for their presentation. We now move to the second presenter, Ms. Paulami Ghosh. And the title of her talk is Epistemologies in Transition, Curriculum Privatization and the Politics of Knowledge in India. Over to you, Ms. Ghosh.
Good afternoon, esteemed professors and fellow researchers. Today I present Epistemologies in Transition, Curriculum Privatization, and the Politics of Knowledge in India. This is a critical discourse analysis of NEP 2020 and the Indian knowledge systems division that reveals how language constructs power. NEP 2020 promised educational transformation. Instead, they delivered on epistemological optimization. My study asks three critical questions. How do Hindu-centric textbooks construct nativist indigeneity? Second, does NEP curriculum represent India's linguistic diversity? And lastly, what's its impact on the IPS? I have used Peco's three-dimensional CTA with computational linguistics. Spacey dependency passing means manual concordance. The decline of India's government schools and simultaneous state-driven integration of Indian knowledge systems into curricula are not parallel trends, but interconnected components of a fundamental restructuring of education sector. My analysis positions this dual movement as a shift from public goods model towards the state-facilitated, market-oriented ecosystem, with significant implications for equity, pedagogy, and national identity. Data reveals a net of loss of 61,000 government schools between 2018 to 2022, while private schools grew by 10,000. In states like Uttar Pradesh, the drop exceeded by 26 schools. This is not an organic change, but an active state action. The mechanism is clear. The withdrawal of public provision creates a demand vacuum, which private actors fill. The National Education Policy 2020 promotion of public philanthropic partnerships further institutionalizes this transition, effectively also outsourcing the state's constitutional obligation. The result is a pathway of exclusion where quality education becomes a commodified service, displacing economically disadvantaged groups. Concurrently, the state is re-engaging in education through a powerful cultural and ideological project that is the integration of ideas. However, the implementation of this project raises critical questions about its relationship to the privatization trend. First, the promotion of IPS, particularly its most basic form, can function as a politically resonant distraction from material making of the public schooling infrastructure. The focus on basic aeronautics draws attention away from closed village schools. Second, there is a risk of IKS curriculum evolving into what Professor Manasi describes as indoctrination rather than critical equalization. When a government-sponsored textbook claims that the Wright brothers' achievement is a myth, it is not teaching epistemology, it is teaching dogma. This approach, as critics note, can render graduates unemployable and sever them from global scientific disciplines, effectively limiting their mobility and reinforcing frustrated biases. Thus, we witness a paradox. The state is withdrawing materially while expanding ideology. It is divesting from universal education while intensifying its role in shaping the context of what is taught and by extension who a legitimate knower is. The envisioned future comes to be bifurcated, comes to be a bifurcated. A streamlined, possibly prioritized education for as per traditional mobility alongside an IPS infused that emphasizes on cultural identity, potentially at the expense of critical engagement and employment. The central tension, therefore, is not really between public and private. It is between education as an inclusive public good and education as a tool for state-led modernization and identification. The closure of 85.8% of India's government school diminishes access. A non-critical IKS curriculum in response offers identity but may compromise rigor and future future. Um, Private institutions given greater autonomy encouraged to enter philanthropic spaces. This is NEP Para 10.0. And the translation may be seen as market-driven standardization, while public schools, the linguistic minorities are having budget established. This is the Stacey used data set that has been given in the table format. For example, knowledge and sacred here has been used by 15 and 12 times respectively in some excerpts of the IKS.org, IKSindia.org website. It has been scraped and used for these data sets. And this shows that there is a national rebranding as well as Vedic supremacy through words like Bharatiya and knowledge. On the other, tribal and regional has been used 0 and 1 times respectively, which
Can you please wind up the presentation? You are out of time. 7 minutes are over. Just try to get to the conclusion.
My appointment was later on. So I didn't get to you.
Indian knowledge systems have also seen new research points such as Vedic mathematics as well as Ayurveda foundations, and this is not to criticize any sort of new research that is coming about, but to point towards what kind of research is getting promoted and more funding rather, and what kind of research is getting sidelined, and how it is not in accordance to the NEP 2020, which is supposed to fund all kinds of Indian languages and Indian language
Thank you, Bolami, for that thought-provoking presentation. I would now like to invite again, we will take just one question coming on the list. And in the meantime, while people are formulating the questions, may I request Dr. Anshuman Anshuman Adania to please be ready with his presentation if there is any. Okay, if there are no comments, then on behalf of the film present here, I would like to thank Ms. Bolami Ghosh for the presentation and now invite Dr. Anshuman to please deliver his talk.
Good afternoon, organizers, professors, and research scholars associated with this seminar. I don't have a slide at present. I will go with my paper and I will speak out my paper and certain key points that I find from it. The paper is entitled The Nyaya System and Wittgenstein's Philosophy, Some Points of Contact. The Nyaya system stands as one of the prominent classical Indian philosophical systems, which is conservative epistemological Indian metaphysics. The Nyaya Sutras, written by Gautam, and the commentaries that contain very sophisticated theory of knowledge, inference, and language. Ludwig von Wittgenstein's philosophy, which is spanned across the practical and the philosophical investigation, and wrangles with the research, language, logic, and the boundaries of meaningful discourse. While the analytic tradition often separates itself from the classical Indian knowledge system and the classical Indian thought, yet there are striking parallels between the Nyaya's concern about inference and error, which they do Wittgenstein's later emphasis on ordinary language and the rule-following pattern. In my paper, I focus on three major areas of comparison. The first is conception of logic and language. The second is epistemological knowledge and inference. And the third is philosophical methodology and the limits of discourse. At the end, we present with a constructive dialogue between Nyaya system and Wittgenstein's philosophy. Nyaya revolves around the systematic presentation of the syllogism and its debate. Nyaya sees syllogism as famous landmarks. And at the first glance, it may look that Nyaya's syllogistic logic and Wittgenstein's linguistic pragmatism seems to be quite opposed. But however, both the traditions recognize the view that the forms of language play a great role in the construction of knowledge. Nyaya's importance on elite cognitive procedures, the five-fold structure that it is based on, is merely rhetoric in nature. It is not rhetoric in nature, but rather it is a logical procedure which is concerned with ensuring clarity and error. Wittgenstein's famous concept of language games is also connected with him. While rejecting the basic formalism of ordinary language use, Wittgenstein insists that we meaningfully arrive at certain rules, which are basically established patterns, and they dictate correct application of expressions. Wittgenstein's philosophy and the philosophy of Nyaya have logic as a core part. Here, in both the traditions, logic is not detached from ordinary communication and cognitive knowledge. Nyaya's grip on debate and proper scriptural interpretation parallels with Wittgenstein's persistent that clarity in philosophy emerges from examining how language is functional in ordinary life. Beyond cataloging pronouns or valid sources of knowledge, Nyaya theories explore cognitive processes. They emphasize the role of universals and the possibility of error. In the philosophical investigations for the later part of Wittgenstein's philosophy, Wittgenstein presents the nature of rule following. He challenges the notion that following a rule is merely a private cognitive event, rather it must be grounded in some share of practices. His famous rule following considerations illuminate how meaning and inference depend on convenient patterns rather than mere mental representations. Wittgenstein's criticism of private language destroys the notion that inference can be understood merely as a mental operation which is devoid of public standards. For Wittgenstein, thinking and reasoning are lost in the forms of life. Both the Nyaya system and the philosophy of Wittgenstein emphasize that daily inference is not merely abstract, but is rooted in shared human practices. In Nyaya philosophy, debates and dialectical exchanges are grand social activities. These governed by rules that ensure mutual recognition of claims and its counterclaims. Thus, inference in both the traditions is not an isolated mental calculus, rather they are intimately connected normative practices. It regulates and guides correct application and understanding. Nyaya philosophy significantly efforts at cataloging errors and fallacies. For Nyaya philosophers, many philosophical disputes arise from the misuse of terms, use of ambiguous language, or the use of faulty inference. Clarifying the concepts and distinguishing the elite cognitions from the invalid ones is imperative for philosophical progression.
You have 2 more minutes.
Okay. And coming to the main part, Wittgenstein's later philosophy presents many philosophical problems and jargons. His jargons have deep mystical meanings. Wittgenstein's philosophy often offers a therapeutic philosophical practice, and it helps in resolving puzzles or clarifying how we use language. His famous quote, which meant that philosophy should be aimed at showing the trapped fly the way out of the fly problem. Both the systems, that is Neo and Wittgenstein's philosophy, and philosophical works not as the creation of metaphysical directions, but the clearance of misunderstandings. Nietzsche's political theory tries at anatomizing all ignorance and ambiguous use of words. Nietzsche's philosophy seems to eliminate error. The paper is long, but I have presented some key points that I find to be within the limited time. My presentation is over.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Anshuman, for keeping the presentation with me. I invite questions, comments, and suggestions from all the members present here, if there are any. And while people are formulating their thoughts, may I request Ms. Payal Dey that if you have a presentation, maybe you can project it. Questions for Mr. Anshuman? Question, comments?
Master, any questions?
Any questions for?
We have discussed about TLP and
That's
TI.
what you want.
Yeah.
Wow.
This was a presentation on parallels between Nyaya system and Wittgenstein.
Yes, right.
Is he there?
He's here, yeah.
He is around.
Anshuman is here.
Okay, I will make one small comment.
Please. Can you hear, Dr. Anshuman, can you hear?
Can you hear me?
Dr. Martin, I'm hearing
Since you yourself are belonging to the Quran community in your methodology,
That was,
I have not done that with the Quran community.
that was
It is basically Ludwig Wittgenstein and the classical Indian system of Nyaya.
so you don't belong to that Quran community?
This
Or
is
no, I'm
different
talking
paper.
about the previous one.
No.
okay. Do
He
you have
Okay.
comments,
discussed
do you
about,
have comments for the first paper?
The second paper.
No, the first paper was Dr. This on Quran community. Do you have comments on that?
Yeah. That's
Okay,
right.
Dr. Anshuman will just take comments from Professor Mao on the first paper, which was by Yuva Kumar Goro. So if the presenters are here.
Quran, no?
Yeah.
Is he around or he left?
No, he's here.
Okay.
Please
you
go.
can continue.
Also, okay. Since you yourself belong to the Quran community in your methodology, why did you say that participant observation? Participant observation is valid only for those who do not belong to the specific community for which one is carrying on the investigation.
Sir, sorry, I'm from the Guru community. I'm not from the Quran community. I'm from the Guru community.
He's from Baroda.
He's not from the same community, he's from a different community.
Okay.
He studied the Quran community, but he's not
All
from.
fine. Okay. That's fine.
Thanks, Yuva. Is there any question or comments for Dr. Anshuman? Okay, in that case, thank you, Dr. Anshuman. I now invite Ms. Payal Dey. She will be presenting her research on the Arthapathy debate. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. The title of my paper is Revisiting the Arthapathy Debate and Epistemological Disagreement between Nyaya and Mimamsa. Orthodoxy, commonly translated as postulation or presumption, occupies a distinctive and contested position within classical Indian philosophy or Pramana Shastra. While Mimamsa school recognized orthodoxy as an independent means of valid knowledge or Pramana, the Nyaya tradition subsumed it under inference, denying independent epistemic status. This disagreement is not merely taxonomic but reflects deeper divergence concerning the nature of cognition, justification, linguistic meaning, and the structure is every dictionary obtained cognition is the inferential or can now be epistemically immediate despite evolving reason. We all know in Indian philosophy or Indian traditionally in Indian philosophy, man traditionally accept four pramans: perception, inference, comparison or human, and verbal testimony. On the other hand, Mimamsa, particularly in Bhakta form, recognize six: perception, inference, comparison, testimony, non-cognition, and orthobuddhi. Orthobuddhi is classically defined as the cognition of an unperceived fact that alone can conceal two apparently incompatible cognitions. The standard or famous example of this case is Devadatta, who is observed to be fat and known not to eat during the day. From these two facts, one postulates that Devadatta must eat at night. In inference, in, uh, in inference, we can see that everything comes from a universal reason, but here is not the universal reason. It is come from epistemically. Kumari Bhattu, in his Slokovartik, mentions that Drishtanta Sutobhyas ইয়ার নামটা উপপাদ্যতে অর্থান্তর কল্পনা সহ অর্থাপত্তি প্রকৃতিত অর্থাপত্তি is defined as function of an unperceived fact when observed and testified facts that otherwise inexplicable. Kumari argues that inference requires practical when orthobuddhi operates through ananta anupapatti. This distinction is epistemically decisive for Bhakta Mimamsa. Mimamsa argument for the as a dogma. When they argue, they always try to see orthobuddhi as an independent proman because there is no such Vyakti operating. The cognition is arises immediately from the impossibility of the given fact coexisting. Nine represents here that orthobuddhi is according to structure the major is whoever is fat is analysis developer is fat, conclusion is developer is at some time and nine reject the orthobuddhi as an independent proman by motivated by if the cognitive result of orthobuddhi can be generated by inference, positive the response orthobuddhi অনুমানম ইব অব্যক্ত বিন্যাসবল ন্যায়মঞ্জরি. But orthobuddhi is merely incomprehensible reason. Congress elaborates that position arguing that impossibility itself a universal relation by introducing practice strategy. Nine philosopher also warned that recognizing orthobuddhi as independent is epistemic inclination or logical distinction. The epistemological implication of this debate is from the side of Kumari, he defines orthobuddhi as a cognition when the observed fact becomes unintelligible.
He's a journalist as well as social activist. He's doing lots of works.
If we come to the another example, Netapti is alive, Netapti is not at home. So we immediately thought that Netapti is elsewhere. But Congress he always told about here is a hidden universal relation which we are not looking. It is Vyakti, and if Vyakti can prove understanding the dynamics of presumption and explanation in human cognition. Here is my bibliography. Thank you.
Thank you, Payal, for your presentation and keeping it within time. I now invite the members present here for any question, comments, and clarifications that they may have. And while people are formulating their questions, I would request Dr. Baijanti Bhattacharya, our next speaker, that if you have a presentation, then kindly share it with us.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions? Do we have any questions for Payal? Okay, in that case, thank you again, Payal, for your presentation. I now invite Dr. Baijanti to present her research. The title of her talk is
Yes, sir.
Concurrence, Neo-Nationalism and its Philosophy.
Yes. Can you propose?
Am I audible, sir?
It is that one, yes.
Am I audible, sir?
You are audible.
Yes, sir. One is in my PPT.
Yes, yes. Please set it up.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and other participants. Is my skin is visible, sir? Is my skin is visible, sir?
No, your screen is not visible yet. In fact, we are seeing the chair. We are all seeing me. So maybe you are presenting using your phone. Is that correct?
Okay, sir. 1 minute. 1 minute. Now my skin is visible, sir.
Yeah, we can see the text. Yes.
It's not readable.
It's not readable. Can you either zoom in or can you just zoom in that file? Because we can't really read anything. In that
It's
text.
a PPT and I want to share my mobile phone.
Yes. Do you think if we put you after towards the end, would you be able to connect using a laptop or a computer?
No, actually, sir, laptop is not in my
No, never
hand
mind. Never mind.
this time.
Never mind. Just connect using your phone, and if you want to present something, then just zoom using your thing. Or you can just also read if it is a paper. You can just read it out. That's also fine.
Yes, sir. Okay. I can read.
Yeah. Okay. Please read then. Dr. Baijanti, please start.
Good afternoon, sir. Respected chairperson and other colleagues. The topic of my paper is Shankardev's Neo-Vaishnavism and its philosophy. In introduction part, I want to say that the cult of worshipping Vishnu as the supreme deity in any one of his several forms is known as Vaishnavism. Like other parts of the Indian subcontinent, Assam is covered with Vaishnavism and its different establishment from ancient times. In the closing decades of the 15th century of the Christian era, Sri Shankardeva introduced Vaishnava movement, which was a turning point in the history of religion, and it was known as in Assam. The religion of Shankardeva is popularly known as Eternal Harinama Dharma, and the Sanskrit word and echo means only one. Religion of supreme surrender to one God. The objective of the is the other objective is to find out the impact of Neo-Vaishnavism on society. And regarding philosophy of Neo-Vaishnavism, the founder of Neo-Vaishnavism, Shankardeva, was the sole devotee of one Supreme Lord, that is Krishna, and he accepted the theory of incarnation as put forward by the Gita. First, he is tortoise, boar, man, lion, rat, Parshurama, Rama, Balarama, regarded as an by Hindus. Shankardeva mentioned amongst all the incarnations, Shankardeva considered the avatars of Krishna as the highest, best, and the most idol in a different forms. God appeared in different times, where all are known as avatars due to his lila. Shankardeva in his writings explained that Krishna is the creator and Brahman, Paramatman and Bhagavan. When God directs and controls the sense, he is known as Paramatman, and when God appears to devotees in their meditation, he is known as Brahman, and when he is looked upon as a creator, sustainer, and preserver of this world, he goes by the name of Bhagavan. A major characteristic of Shankardeva's philosophy is that it preaches equality of the Nirgun Brahman and Sagun Ishvara. Shankardeva makes the Sagun aspect as the prime object of his concern and establishes that Saguna aspect is the indispensable means for realizing the Nirguna Brahman. For Shankardeva, God is the father of the universe and life of the world. In case of creation, he is the first and the final cause, and he is without the beginning, purities, and all knowledge, all delight, and everlasting. Shankardeva does not find any distinction between a Brahman and a Sakadala, considers a giver and him equal and equality of view upon the high and the low. Shankardeva in his religion takes Bhakti Yoga of Bhagavad Gita and applies it to personal God, Ishvara of Bhagavad Purana, and this God according to Shankardeva is realized by Bhakti only. Shankardeva founded his faith on the basis of four postos, elements, that is Guru, Devo, and Namo, and Bhakti. He put much emphasis on Shravana and Kirtana. The teachers occupied the first place in Yoga Vaishnava faith, who gave the knowledge of liberation. And next point is my paper is impact of Neo Vaishnavism. The main agenda of Shankardeva religion is to reform the society. The need of faith needed to be liberal, practical, universal, and acceptable. To bring the reform among the people in Assam, Shankardeva originated the Sutras in the 15th century, which is English known as monastery. Sutra is the unity heritage of Assam in the lifetime. The today's Sutra is mainly known as Than. So there is a difference between the Than and Sutras. During the time of Srimanta Shankardeva and his foremost disciple and successors, Madhavdeva set up some units which are known as Than. Sutras and Namkhors were established in various parts of Assam as a result of publishing of Neo Vaishnavism by Shankardeva 15th century. In conclusion, I want to say that today we all are the members of the construction of a global village. It is the period of new things, fresh thinking, and quick action. Undoubtedly, the ethical virtue determines the behavior of good people and will be adds to a fresh, sweet smell to social immunity, friendliness, and human relations. So there is a need or a demand of an ethico-value-based religion. On the way of this goal, we realize the importance of Socrates' teaching, who has won the mind of the people with the help of Neo Vaishnavism. This religion spread the message of love, which enlightened the Assamese society and unified it. This gave the individual life a new meaning and dignity, which brought a new age, new life, a new culture, and a new state. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Vaishnavi, for that concise and to the point presentation. I invite the members present here and online for any questions. Okay, in case there are none, then we move to the last presenter of this session, Samir Ali. The title of his talk is Epistemology in Buddhism and Jainism. Over to you, Mr. Samir Ali.
Sir, we are not able to share.
Okay. Do you just want to read it? If you have a text, you can just read it.
Is it visible, sir?
No. It's your full screen that is visible.
Okay, so that's I am reading, sir.
Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. The nature, speaker, research, participants, name of the paper is epistemology, digital journalism. First of introduction part and the Indian philosophy is known to have epistemology as its core subject of study since philosophical and very Indian interpretation of the world is not speculative but consists in an effort to liberated by knowledge and suffering. The knowledge is believed to be a transformative power. This can lead to uh, moral performance and spiritual realization. So in this paper, I is trying to examine the epistemological foundation of Buddhism and Buddhism with special reference to their concept of promanas, perception, and inference. Secondly, to analyze the philosophical significance of key doctrines such as Mahatma, Shabbat, Monasticism, and self-love in shaping their perspective knowledge and truth. Thirdly, to undertake a comparative evaluation of Buddhist and Jain epistemology in order to highlight their contributions to epistemic pluralism, ethical responsibility, and contemporary philosophical discourse. So, as a schools of Indian philosophy, Buddhism and Jainism are some of the other schools like Mayo and Ushishikana, uh, which had independent and rigorous development of the epistemological theories beyond the Vedic tradition. Both systems challenges the validity of ordinary thinking and seeks to come up with criteria of acceptable knowledge. So, Buddhist word is being for epistemology. Their views as like as the central teachings of Buddhism are strong epistemological principles of Buddhism such as karma, self, and dependent destination. Buddhism combines epistemology with stereology, ethics, and metaphysics, unlike epistemological theories that only consider knowledge as an intellectual endeavor. Knowledge is not treated as it is relevant to reality, but because it has the ability to eradicate ignorance. This is the root of suffering and bring the particular liberation. So, as an important place in the Buddhist epistemology is held by ignorance. It is not simply a lack of knowledge, but a rooted, corrupt outlook of the reality, especially the idea of permanence, selfhood, and permanence. It is this lack of understanding that leads to attachment, aversion, and eventual suffering. Hence, knowledge in Buddhism has a
in corrective and liberative object. Right knowledge breaks false beliefs about reality and makes suffering reality. Buddhist epistemology also makes a very clear distinction between conventional truth, Sampriti Sattva, and ultimate truth, Paramartha Sattva. The conventional truth is in the language concept and daily experience, whereas ultimate truth brings out the emptiness and condition state of all phenomena. Investigation of epistemology thus should be aware of the constraints of conceptual thinking and provisionally of linguistic representation. Uh, Now, the epistemological view. General epistemology is also deeply rooted in ontological realism and moral disciplines and is a unique and systematic way of addressing knowledge in Indian philosophy. The contrast to Buddhist epistemology that rejects the existence of permanence of substance, Jainism holds that there is a real and independent existence of substances that make up reality. The Jaina philosophy asserts that the universe consists of a number of substances which have essential properties like law, that is called law, and change constantly or some force of another. The concept of knowledge thus is the awareness of facts of being things that do not rely on the person or knows them but are extinct as partial relatives. General has various levels and types of knowledge scanners that includes the normal senses cognition, extraordinary form of knowledge that can be received by spiritually advanced creatures. The most common way of knowledge to the ordinary people is sense perception, that is called motiganam, and spiritual knowledge, that is logoganam. Advanced cognitions, including that of clairvoyance, that is bodhiganam, telepathy, monoportyaganam, and omniscient Garudaganam are thought come about as a result of intense moral training and spiritual cleansing. This progressive epistemology denotes the Jain belief that knowledge is intellectual, moral, and spiritual nature. So here, Jaino mind is being on Shetpada, but right short and going to just read some key points. That is now comparative analysis. The Buddhist doctrine denounce the ontology of substance altogether and do not believe that there is anything in reality that has any kind of permanent and independent existence. Its epistemology based on impermanence, non-self, and dependent origination results in the way of knowledge being perceived as temporary, relative, and provisional. Buddhist philosophers thus restrict higher cognition to perception and inference and stress direct on non-conceptual knowledge.
Please wrap up, Samir. You're already over your time. Please wrap up in a minute.
Okay, sir. The Jaina and Buddhist epistemology present deep and visually supportive interpretations of the nature of knowledge, truth, reality in the Indian philosophy. Buddhism, with its requirements and the development teaching, centered a belief that some things have permanent nature and that knowledge as being temporary, dependent, and fleeting. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We again invite questions and comments from the other participants and members present here in person, if there are any. Okay, so if there are no questions, then please join me in thanking Samir for his presentation on the epistemology of Jainism and Buddhism. With that, we come to a close of this session. And thanks a lot and congratulations to all the presenters on all the best in your future research. Thank you.
Continue session is
Next session. Okay, so they will leave now.
no.
They can continue leaving. Our next
Some
chairperson.
questions connected here.
Okay, so I'll just, okay, okay. She will be perfect.
Thank you, Kashyap sir, for nicely chairing our online second session. Now, this is the last our online paper presentation, and this will be chaired by our Dr. Moiti Sharma ma'am, Assistant Professor, Pandro College, Guwahati. Now, she is not physically here, but from Guwahati, she will uh, take the responsibility of chairperson. Already she has joined here. Now, may I request Dr. Moiti Sharma ma'am to run the last online paper presentation, and the technical person they can connect with our man so that our man can run the session from Guwahati, and the online presenters they are already in the group. Now I request Rushidul just to make the or check the connection whether man can run the session or
Man
not.
is already there.
Technically,
She is right.
already man has joined.
She is right.
Let us see. Now it is over to you, ma'am. Saya ingin bermat penipuan dan teknik saya akan lakukan itu. Memang salah diri pada itu.
Hello.
Okay, hear you, ma'am.
Here.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello. Hello, Namita. Can you hear me?
What will we do? Mr. Kalam, I'm here only. So I would like to request you to proceed for the share for this session. Thank you, ma'am.
So, good afternoon and warm welcome to all of you. I think this is the final session of all academic sessions of this 3 days national seminar. So, for this session, we have 4 papers. I'd like to name the presenters. 4 papers. The first presenter will be, this is a joint paper, Dr. Sokimuddin Ahmed and Mohammad Nurjahan Haq. Second paper is Sangeeta Saikia, second presenter. Third presenter is Batul Chandra Nath and final presenter is Dr. Jonmuni Gogol. Every presenter will give 7 minutes for his or her presentation and 3 minutes for discussion. Now I invite Dr. Sokimuddin Ahmed. Yes, Sokimuddin Ahmed. Are you going to present or Nurjaman Haq? Please present for you. Please unmute yourself.
She contacted me.
Unmute yourself.
I want her, she didn't call back message also. I will report.
Sri Shankardev Cruise in Language, Literature and Cultural Version and Analytical Study. This is joint paper in Singapore Academic College. I am going to make an introduction about this paper. Sri Shankardev was born in the year 1949 in Kottadurga. Alikupuri, Nagaon, district of Assam, and died in 1916 Radanga, Austria. Lima and social reformer who profoundly shaped in language, literature and culture of Assam through his new Vaishnavism movement known as Ek Swarno Nam Dharma. His contribution was language, literature and culture were not isolated artistic endeavors but integral components of a Bodhisattva socialism reform aimed at spiritual democratization and cultural consolidation. A critical perspective reveals both his transformative role and the enduring tension with his legacy. The closing decades of the 15th century in Assam witnessed the rise of an unique school of pure devotion to Vishnu that also decided the issue of a movement for social reform in the face of this group mental force, comforters and a spiritual and social reformer and a versatile figure propagated a religion known as Exorono Vainam. But the great general characteristics that marked the rise of his name is to was its insistence on basing its theology on a purely practical philosophy rather than the conventional Vedic one. Sankota's movement in institutions. Madhav his foremost disciple was described him as a man of all good qualities. He has brought down the river of the nectar of the love of God from Vaikuntha. The transcendental society, in fact, so deep in the impact of Shankardeva on the spiritual and also social therapy. In his context, that intimate connection between the two landscape of Assam, that the entire purpose of medieval Assamese Bhakti literature is resonant with his prize. Enabling this spiritual reform was a strong years of social reform which swept away the harmonic conception of society and sought to remodel society on decline. Significance of this study. The study of Sankardev's ruling language, literature and culture is significant because it enabled a comprehensive understanding of the historical foundation of Assamese identity and intellectual tradition. Sankardev was not merely a religious reformer, he was a pioneering cultural architect's first contribution reshaped the linguistic, literary and socio-cultural landscape of medieval Assam. Examining his work critically allows scholars to move beyond hagiographic narrative and assess his legacy with broader historical, social and ideological context. Objectives of the study. To examine Srimanta Shankardev's contribution to the development of the Assamese language. Secondly, to critically analyze Shankardev's literary works, including his poetry, translation, drama, Unkian art, and devotional songs for it in order to get their literary merit, stylistic features and ideological foundation. Thirdly, to study Shankar's role in shaping Assamese cultural tradition. To study Shankar's, evaluate the impact of Shankar's Bhakti movement in Assamese society. To assess Shankar's use of literature and performance as tool of cultural reform. Next, to explore the interrelationship between language, literature, and culture in Shankar's work. Next, to offer a critical perspective on the limitation and debates surrounding Shankar's ideology and influence. The methodology of the study. The present study adopts a qualitative, interdisciplinary, and analytical methodology to examine the multifaceted contribution of Shankardev to Assamese language, literature, and culture.
Hello, Dr. Ahmed. Please sum up. We have paucity of time. Please sum up. Speak your methodology part. Yes.
I am going to conclude my paper. Conclusion: Sri Sri Shankar's ruling shaping the language, literature, and culture of Assam started as one of the most transformative forces in the region history. From a critical perspective, his contemporary not merely artistic or devotional but deeply social, linguistic, and cultural, integrating and inclusive and mostly grounded Assamese society. In the shape of language, Shankardev elaborated Assamese from a largely regional medium to powerful vehicle of mass communication. By using music simple and accessible Assamese English with movements, he demonstrates religion and literary expression. In literature, Shankardev laid the foundation of modern Assamese literature through his poetic works. Translation of the Bhagavata Purana, Borgit, Unkiana, and prose compositions. Critically, both his literature represents synthesis of devotion, aesthetic, and didactic purpose while deeply rooted in Vaishnavism. His writing transcended exterior boundaries by emphasizing ethical values such as compassion, equality, and devotion of Ishwariji. Culturally, Shankar's impact was revolutionary through institutions like the Namgar and Shatru. He created enduring cultural spaces that integrated religion, art, music, dance, and community life. His promotion of Shatru dance, Orgit music, and dramatic traditions fostered a cohesive cultural identity, however, from a critical standpoint. In conclusion, Shankar's emerged as a multidimensional reformer whose influence on Assamese language, literature, and culture in both fundamental and intellectual. A critical perspective reveals that his legacy lies on only not the created body, how he redefined cultural participation, making it accessible, ethical, and community-centered. His contribution continued to shape Assam's cultural ethos, affirming his relevance in both historical and contemporary contexts. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed, for your presentation. Now I invite question, only one question or observation of the and I request Sangeeta Sakia to be here. Next presentation, Dr. Sangeeta Sakia. Every presenter will get 5 minutes. Secretary is here. Then our third presenter, I can see Uttam Chandra Nath here. So, may I invite Uttam Chandra Nath?
Ma'am, good afternoon.
Kapunar, the title of your paper is Sri Sri Shankardev's Kirtan Puhat Bhakti আৰু আধ্যাত্মিকতা এটা আলোচনা। ইয়াৰ আগৰ পেপাৰখনৰ টাইটেলটো আকৌ এবাৰ কৈ দিছো, Sri Sri Shankardev's role in language literature and culture of Assam, an analytical study which was presented by Dr. Sophie Ahmed. Now, our presenter is Uttam Chandra Nath. আপুনি 5 মিনিটত ক'ব দেই, মেথডলজিটো ক'ব নালাগে। আপুনি মূল কথাখিনি ক'ব, তাৰপিছত আমি আলোচনা আবাৰ কিবা সুধিব লগা থাকিলে সুধিম।
সকলোকে নমস্কাৰ জনাইছো মই আপোনাৰ লগতে আমি পাৰ্টিচিপেট সকলোকো শ্ৰী শ্ৰী শংকৰদেৱৰ কীৰ্তনঘোষাত ভক্তি আৰু আধ্যাত্মিকতা এই বিষয়ে মই আলোচনা বা আলোকপাত কৰিব বিচাৰিছো। বিষয়ে উদ্দেশ্যত আমি উল্লেখ কৰিবলৈ গৈছো যে খান্দিলা ভক্তি সূত্ৰ শুনিছেনে বাৰু?
শুনি আছো।
খান্দিলা ভক্তি সূত্ৰত ঈশ্বৰৰ অতিশয় অনুৰক্তি ভক্তি লাভ হৈছে খান্দিলা ভক্তি সূত্ৰত। আৰু নাৰদীয় ভক্তি সূত্ৰই ঈশ্বৰৰ প্ৰতি পৰম প্ৰেমত ভক্তি কৰিছে। আকৌ নাৰদ পঞ্চৰাত্ৰ অনুসৰি প্ৰেম পৰিপ্লুত মন হৰিৰ প্ৰতি স্বাৰ্থপূৰ্ণ হৈ সদায় প্ৰভাৱিত হৈ থকা অৱস্থাই ভক্তি বুলি কোৱা হৈছে। আৰু এই ভক্তি দুই প্ৰকাৰ কোৱা হৈছে যে পূৰ্ণ ভক্তি আৰু পৰাভক্তি। সকলো কামনা পূৰ্ণ হৈ মনে পূৰ্ণ শান্তি লাভ কৰি ভগৱানৰ পৰম প্ৰেমত নিমগ্ন হোৱা অৱস্থাত পৰাভক্তি বোলা হৈছে। এতিয়া ভক্তিৰ আন দুই ধৰণে ভাগ কৰা হৈছে, যেনে কাম্য ভক্তি আৰু নিষ্কাম ভক্তি। কাম্য ভক্তিত থাকে সাত্বিক, ৰাজসিক আৰু তামসিক। আকৌ নিষ্কাম ভক্তি হৈছে নিৰ্গুণ। নিৰ্গুণ ভক্তিত কোনো কামনা নাথাকে। সাত্বিকত মুক্তি আশা থাকে, ৰাজসিকত ধন শান্তি কামনা থাকে, তামসিক ভক্তিত আনৰ চিন্তা বা শত্ৰুতা কেনেধৰণৰ কথাবিলাক থাকে। অৱশ্যে ইয়াৰ উপৰি নৈতিক ভক্তিত সকলোৱে জানো শ্ৰৱণ কীৰ্তন স্মৰণ অৰ্চন বন্ধন পাদকীৰ্তন নাট্যভক্তিত আত্মনিবেদন। কিন্তু ইয়াৰ ভিতৰত শ্ৰেষ্ঠ হৈছে শ্ৰৱণ আৰু কীৰ্তন। আমাৰ মহাপুৰুষ গুৰুজনা মূলত অদ্বৈতবাদী একমেৱ দ্বিতীয় পৰমেশ্বৰৰ প্ৰতি একনিষ্ঠ অবিচাৰী ভক্তি শংকৰ মাধৱ গুৰুজনাৰ ধৰ্মৰ মূল ভিত্তি আছিলে। অসমীয়া সংঘৰ যি প্ৰৱৰ্তক হৈছে আমাৰ গুৰু মহান গুৰু শ্ৰী শ্ৰী শংকৰদেৱ। আৰু তেখেতৰ ৰচনাদি সৰ্বাত্মক সাহিত্যিক মূল্যায়নৰ লগতে আধ্যাত্মিক যিটো মূল্যায়ন যেনেধৰণে আমাৰ হৈ আছিলে আৰু ওপৰৰ স্তৰত হলে বেছি আমাৰ সন্তোষজনক হ'ব বুলি ভাবো। এতিয়া আমি আহিছো যে আমাৰ গুৰুজনাই বিভিন্ন সময়ত আমাৰ কীৰ্তনৰ বিভিন্ন খণ্ডবিলাক ৰচনা কৰিছিল আৰু সেই ৰচনাবোৰ আমি এনেধৰণে ভাগ কৰিছিলো যে অজামিল উপাখ্যান, প্ৰহ্লাদজয়ী হৰমোহন পুৰীচৰণ, গজেন্দ্ৰ উপাখ্যান, চতুৰ্বিংশতি অৱতাৰ বৰ্ণন, এইটো এটা প্ৰথম স্তৰত তেওঁ লিখিছিলে। আমাৰ মহেশ্বৰ নেওচাৰে সেইখিনি সুন্দৰকৈ ভাগ কৰি দেখুৱাইছিলে। তাৰ পৰাহে আমি প্ৰথমে এইখিনি সংগ্ৰহ কৰি বাইদেউ লিখিছো, মোৰ নিজা এইখিনি নহয়। আৰু দ্বিতীয় পৰ্যায়ত ধৰিছে পাঠ্যমন্ত্ৰৰ নাম অপৰাধ, তৃতীয় পৰ্যায়ত শিশুলীলা, ৰাসক্ৰিয়া, কংসদৈ, সংবাদ, পুঁজি বাঞ্ছাকৰণ, শত্ৰুৰ বাঞ্ছাকৰণ, আৰু শেষত আছিলে জৰাসন্ধ যুদ্ধ, কাৰ্যবন্ধ, মুচুকুন্দ স্তুতি। এনেধৰণে মানে শ্ৰীকৃষ্ণৰ বৈকুণ্ঠ ভাগৱতৰ তাৎপৰ্যলৈকে শেষৰ ফালে আলোচনা তেওঁ বা তেনেকে লিখি থৈ গৈছিল। শংকৰ গুৰুজনাৰ বৈষ্ণৱ ধৰ্মৰ যি সামাজিক পদ্ধতি সত্ৰৰ নামঘৰৰ যিটো ভূমিকা, ই আমি সকলোৱে যেন মন কৰিবলগীয়া। আধ্যাত্মিক চিন্তা চৰ্চাৰ নিয়ম নীতি পালনত নাট, অভিনয়, গীত চৰ্চা আদি প্ৰধান কেন্দ্ৰ হিচাপে আমাৰ সত্ৰ বা নামঘৰ বিলাক তেখেতসকলে প্ৰতিষ্ঠা কৰি গৈছে। আৰু এয়া হৈছে তেখেতৰ চিৰস্মৰণীয় আমাৰ অসমীয়াৰ কাৰণে অৱদান। এতিয়া বাইদেউ মই স্মৰণকে কবলৈ আহিছো যে ভকতীয়া চাৰিকোটি আমি বুলি কলে নাম ভকতৰ কথা আমি কব পাৰো। আৰু ই হৈছে পৰমাৰ্থ বস্তু। এতিয়া আমি ভিতৰৰ কথা যিহেতুকে আলোচনা কৰিবলৈ বিচাৰিছোঁ ভক্তিৰ আধ্যাত্মিকতাই মূল কথা গতিকে আমি সকলোৱে জানো বিশেষকৈ অৱতাৰ প্ৰথমেই আছে প্ৰথমে প্ৰণাম ব্ৰহ্ম ৰূপী সনাতন সৰ্ব অৱতাৰৰ কাৰ নাৰায়ণ এই যে ব্ৰহ্ম নিৰঞ্জন নিৰাকাৰ সনাতন সেই কথাটো আমি আমাৰ গুৰুজনাই উপলব্ধি কৰাই দিছে বহন বিশ্লেষণ কৰিবলৈ সময় নাই এইটো তেনেকৈ খণ্ডত আছে সমস্ত ভূতৰ তুমি আছা হৃদয়ত সমস্ত ভূতৰ তুমি আছা হৃদয়ত তত্ত্ব নাপাই তোমাক বিচাৰে বাহিৰত তুমি যে কেৱল সত্য মিছা সবে আন জানি জ্ঞানী গণে কৰে হৃদয়ত ধ্যান কি যে গুৰুজনাই ব্ৰহ্ম খণ্ডটো এনেই শুনাই উল্লেখ কৰিছে অৰ্থাৎ সকলো প্ৰাণীৰ হৃদয়তে ঈশ্বৰ আছে তেওঁই যে সত্য আন যে সকলো মিছা আমাৰ জ্ঞানীসকলে প্ৰকৃত ভক্তিপ্ৰাণ লোকসকলে তাকেই বুজিছে আৰু সেই ভকতসকলে তেওঁলোকে হৃদয়ত ধ্যান কৰে বা তেওঁই পদ পৰম সম্পদ আমাৰ ৰাজ্যতেই পাওঁ ৰাজ্যতেই চাওঁ যে ব্ৰহ্মাদিও ইহ কৃষ্ণ ভগৱন্ত জাত অৱন্তে পায় মূৰ্খ স্থাৱৰ পৰ্যন্ত তেনেকে প্ৰাচীন মৰ্দনত শ্ৰৱণ কীৰ্তনক গুৰুত্ব দি লিখিছে গুৰুজনাই শ্ৰৱণ কীৰ্তনে যাৰ নচাৰন্ত হৰি নাম পাঠ হৰিনাম শ্ৰৱণ কৰোতাজনৰ মন দেহ পবিত্ৰ হলে ভগৱান ওচৰ চাপে যদি মন দেহ পবিত্ৰ নহয় যিমানে আমি হৰিনাম নেগাওঁ নিশ্চয় তেওঁ আমাৰ ওচৰ নেচাপে নাৰদৰ কৃষ্ণ দৰ্শনটো আমি ভকতৰ বিষয়ে এনেধৰণে পাইছো গুৰুজনে ইমান সুন্দৰকৈ লিখিছে যোগীৰো হিয়াই সমুদায় থাকো ভকতৰ কীৰ্তন চাই গতিকে কীৰ্তন ইমানেই শ্ৰেষ্ঠ আৰু প্ৰকৃত প্ৰাণতো আমি সকলোৱে জানো তাত কি লিখিছে বিষ্ণুময় দেখে যিটো সমস্ত জগত জীৱন্তে মুকুটকুৱে অচিৰ কালত অৰ্থাৎ সমস্ত জগতক বিষ্ণুময় দেখিব পৰা ভক্তজনেহে জীৱন মুক্ত হ'ব পাৰে আৰু পৰম শান্তি আনন্দত জীৱনটো তেওঁ উপলব্ধি কৰিব পাৰে পৰম শান্তি বা পৰম আনন্দ আমি পাবলৈ হলে কিন্তু তেওঁৰ চৰণত আমাৰ নিৰ্দিষ্ট হ'বই লাগিব কিন্তু যিমান আমি চাকৰি কৰি ধন অট্টালিকাৰ মাজত নাথাকো কিয় আমি প্ৰত্যেকেই বুজি পাওঁ আমাৰ যিটো আত্ম উপলব্ধি শান্তি যে আনন্দৰ প্ৰকৃততে আমাৰ নাই ভকতৰ ভক্তিৰ বিষয়ে কি বুলিলাটো আছে ভকতৰ বৈশ্য তুমি কৰি পাৱে গতিকে প্ৰভু ভগৱানৰ প্ৰকৃত হৃদয়ে থাকি যদি ঘৰতেই লওঁ তাতেই আমি শান্তি পাম ভকতেও নিজ গৃহতে ঈশ্বৰৰ নামলৈ গতিকে জীৱন নিৰ্বাহ কৰে গতিকে এই কথাখিনি তেওঁ তেখেতৰ বিভিন্ন কীৰ্তনৰ খণ্ডতে ভাগৱতৰ যিমান অনুবাদ কৰিছে বা নাট লিখিছে বা আমাৰ যি তেখেতে বৰগীত লিখিছে সেই সকলোতে আমি পাই আহিছো ভকতে নিজৰ মন দেহ সংবাদত আছে কৃষ্ণতে সবে নিৰ্মল যাইল মন কলাৰৰ কথাটো অন্তৰত লাগি থাকে গতিকে কলাটো তুমি ৰাখাৰ নাপালে বেয়া লাগিব তোমাক ধৰিব যে প্ৰহ্লাদ চৰিত্ৰ প্ৰহ্লাদটো আমাৰ হৃদয়ত থাকিলে কিমান যে ভাল লাগে বা মহানদী জ্ঞান কৰি কৰন্ত ভগতি নিতান্তে হৰিকৈ কৰি জ্ঞান হৰি এদিনে নেদে সন্ত আন গতিকে আমি যদি নাথাকো যিমানে চাকৰি নকৰো যিমানে শিক্ষকতা নকৰো যিমানে অন্যান্য কিন্তু হৃদয়ত তেওঁক ধ্যান কৰা মানে তেওঁক চিন্তা কৰা মানে তেওঁক আপোন কৰি ৰখা মানে নিজৰে মংগল বুলি ভাবো গতিকে আৰু আছিলে বাৰু মোৰ হয় মানে মুক্ত হৈ থকা সকলে সমস্ত কিন্তু সন্তুষ্ট লাগিব এইখিনিকে কলো কৰিব আৰু
সুন্দৰ হৈছে কিন্তু আমি যে সময়টো এটা নিয়ম এটা চলিব লাগে ঠিক আছে
ভকতৰ কৰ্ম যেন নকৰিল গতিকে ভকতে যি কৰ্ম নকৰো ঈশ্বৰৰ কৃপা থাকে যে কেতিয়াও ফল নহয় গতিকে ভকত হবলৈ আমি যত্ন কৰাটো উন্নত চিন্তা চৰ্চাৰে মানে ভক্তিৰ আধ্যাত্মিকতাৰ চিন্তাটো মই ভাবো একেবাৰে হায়েষ্ট মানে হায়াৰ লেভেলৰ বস্তু বুলি ভাবো চাকৰি কথাটো এটা জীয়াই থকা এটা জীৱনৰ এটা পদ্ধতি বুলি ভাবো
এতিয়া মই আপোনাক আকৌ ধন্যবাদ জনাইছো 3:45 বুলি already
জইনিঙত আহি আছে বাৰে বাৰে
আছে।
টম টমকে শব্দ মাৰি আছে মোবাইলটো ৰ'ব ৰ'ব
কৰিব পৰা নাই নেকি?
জইনিং কৰিব পৰা নাই
কোনোবা সোমাব পৰা নাই নেকি এবাৰ চাই দিয়কচোন। সংগীতা শইকীয়া এণ্ড ডক্টৰ জন্মনি গগৈ। কোনোবাই যদি কিবা প্ৰশ্ন আছে বা কিবা observation বা comment আছে কৰিব পাৰে এইখিনি সময়তে। আমি চাম।
দুটা আহিছিল তো শব্দ
অলৰেডি তো 4:20 হৈছে। কি কৰিম?
হেল্ল'
নাম শুনিছা?
যদি তেওঁলোক নাই একচন হৈ আছে তেতিয়াহ'লে আমি ইয়াতে সামৰো আমাৰ ইয়াতে এটা অফাৰ প্ৰেজেণ্টেশ্যন এটা আছাইন কৰি দিম আপুনি ধন্যবাদ দিয়াত ভাবিব পাৰিব আপোনাক কনফিউজন মন্তব্য দিবৰ কাৰণে অনুৰোধ কৰিছোঁ
ঠিক আছে। Okay, I'm Dr. Maitri Sharma. I feel honored to chair the concluding session of this seminar, national seminar. In this session, there are two papers, but we have only two presenters here. The first presenter was Dr. Sakimuddin Ahmed. The title of his paper was Recession Political Role in Language, Literature and Culture of Assam, Analytical Study. And the other paper, Recession Hampodever, People Mukhan, Bhakti, Aru, Adhyatmikota. Both the papers are very good and they have highlighted the egalitarian outlook, the past and magnanimous worldview of Recession Padego. So we have to follow these. All these philosophies are very relevant to our life and today's philosophy. They also highlighted practical wisdom of Sampadevo, highlighting Bhakti, highlighting his introducing particular medium for his music, for his Bhaktya, Nat and Bhavna. All these are very relevant to today's society. So thank you all. And my special thanks to the organizing team of this national seminar. Thanks to Dr. Nomita Kolita for executing his Herculean task, which is mine. So smoothly and so efficiently she did all these things. Thank you, and thank you presenters and learned audience here. I think I think we should leave now.
Thank you, ma'am, for your nice chairperson. Thank you so much. Now to the last time to complete our sessions. Now one participant was remaining. So on the request, again we are going to for only one for presentation, offer presentation. So may I request to Mausa, just chairperson for a few minutes.
Okay.
Only the three persons are remaining. They were waiting for a long time. So they will very briefly they will paper presentation they will do it. So we cannot ignore it once. So it is to you to complete within similar time.
ছাৰক এটা মাইক দিয়া বাবু ছাৰক এটা মাইক দিয়া প্ৰেজেণ্টাৰক এটা মাইক দিয়া
All right, the last paper, Dr. Joyita Adia. The title of our paper is Indian Epistemology and the Cessation of Suffering as Soteriological Inquiry. Can, if you are there, fine, please go ahead with your paper.
I send you and then I send you the PPT. First PPT is there. Again I send you. First. afternoon, everyone. I would like to convey my thanks to the organizer of the seminar. I beg your pardon that I have missed my session yesterday, and I would like to thank our principal, ma'am. Hi, I'm grateful to you, ma'am, that you have given me the opportunity to present my paper. Thank you so much. My regards to present erudite teachers and my mentor, Professor Lopamudra Chaudhary. The title of my paper is Indian Epistemology and the Cessation of Suffering, a Soteriological Inquiry. The objective of this paper is to establish a connection of Indian epistemology with soteriology. Now, what is soteriology? Soteriology is the doctrine of salvation. It comes from the Greek word soterion, that means salvation. And now, what is epistemology? Epistemology, we know, a branch of philosophy that deals with knowledge. Okay. We have epistemology in Western philosophy, we have epistemology in Indian philosophy. But the perspective, the consideration towards epistemology, the approach of epistemology is different. Like in West, we see that epistemology, philosophers deals with knowledge, its definition, its attribute. Okay, but in India, knowledge has been considered differently. Like knowledge has been considered as a means to achieve a higher aim, that is salvation. Like I would like to quote a slok, not slok, the meaning of a slok from Ishopanishad due to the constraints of time. He who knows both knowledge and ignorance together attains immortality through knowledge. This is an example of direct connection between Indian epistemology and soteriology. Now we know there are 9 schools in Indian epistemology, 3 heterodox and 6 orthodox. Now apart from Charvaka, Jainism, Buddhism, Nyaya Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Mimamsa, Yoga, Vedanta, all of them, they have their different approaches, their different way of viewing the world. Okay, they are different theology, they are different theory. But in one point, and also see, we know that Nyaya and Bodha, they are they are rival actually. But in one point, all of them are standing in one group. That is what? That is no, ignorance is the cause of suffering, and knowledge is the way to cease this suffering. Knowledge is the path for complete cessation of suffering. I would like to focus this, in Jainism, there are 5 kinds of knowledge: Mati, Shruta, Avadi, Manaparya, and Kevala. And they consider Kevala as the highest form of knowledge, and they believe that through Kevala, one can cease all the sufferings, achieving the Kevala knowledge. In Buddhism, we know there are 4 noble truths. Life is suffering, suffering has a cause, suffering can be ceased. There is a path leading to the cessation of suffering. And through the knowledge of these 4 noble truths, one can achieve salvation. Now, in Nyaya Vaisheshika philosophy, Nyaya philosophy holds that false knowledge binds the soul, and true knowledge liberates the soul. The knowledge of the categories, according to Nyaya and Vaisheshika, both they believe that knowledge of the categories can cause complete cessation of suffering, or Atmantik Dukkha Nivritti. In Sankhya Yoga philosophy, it is a dualistic philosophy, and the 2 fundamental entity, that is Prakriti and Purusha, and the knowledge of the difference of Prakriti and Purusha only can liberate a soul. Advaita Vedanta and Vishishtadvaita Vedanta, they are very much, their epistemology is very much soteriological, and due to the constraints of time, I am telling in one line, that is, they put stress on Shruti, that through the Shruti, Shabda, one can achieve liberation. Now we have talked about this connection of that epistemology is a doorway to salvation. It causes complete cessation of suffering. But what is the point of discussing all these things? What is the relevance of these discussion in modern times? Actually, when we understand what is the true purpose of knowledge, there will be a new genesis within us. We will cultivate a transformation of understanding within. And we all the root of our suffering is our desire. We are all are running after materialistic objects. Once we know what should be the object of our pursuit, we will control our desire. There will be less suffering, physically and mentally. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have just taken a little more than 6 minutes, although you were given 7 minutes. And your topic is very, very vast. And yet, with the help of some graphic depiction, you try to explain your topic. So now the paper is open for discussion.
Actually, it's not a question, just a suggestion. You could add in central philosophy about the three sufferings, Adivadika, Adivadika. So,
Adibodhika,
yeah,
Adibodhika. Yes,
so,
ma'am, it is
you could add
added into the concept of
on
time.
the
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, do I have any suggestions from you?
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Now we come to the last paper,
No,
that is by
another
Srija Bose. Topic is contested definition, epistemic injustice, misgendering, and the provisional category of woman. Huh? Please go ahead with your presentation. Oh, you are here present. Offline. Huh? All right, good.
Good afternoon, everyone. The title of my paper is Contested Definitions, Epistemic Injustice, Misgendering, and the Provisional Category of Woman. This paper explores how misgendering harms trans people, especially non-passing trans individuals, as cisgender. By taking a transgender perspective, the paper focuses on non-passing trans women whose experiences reveal how deeply gender norms are tied to appearance and social expectations. It argues that passing can almost seem like a form of privilege, and that language should be ethically evaluated based on its impact. Next slide, please. Traditionally, we can see that gender has been understood by a binary lens, that is, being a man or being a woman. That idea of a binary gendered sense or lens is also known as called cisgender. However, there have been protests and uproar from people who do not conform to that standard, which is why we can understand that gender is now more of a spectrum. Therein, there are two identities. Next slide. Thank you. Gender identities can further be classified into binary aligned trans identities and gender non-conforming identities, under which there's transgender man, transgender woman, and under gender non-conforming identities, we have non-binary, genderqueer, and agender identities. There are many more such identities. Misgendering harms transgender and gender non-conforming people in three key ways: psychological harms, moral harms, and political harms. To understand the employment of the term woman, we can use two approaches: the intentional method, which looks at the meaning or the criteria of the term; the extensional method, which looks at who society actually applies this term to. For this, let us take the help of a hypothetical case of a late transitioning, non-passing transgender woman. Let her name be Laura. To assess whether Laura qualifies as a woman involves reference to biological, social, and psychological factors. In cases of uncertainty, however, it is deferred to medical or psychological experts whose specialized knowledge is deemed more authoritative than the individual self-identification of a person. However, this can also reveal underlying epistemic hierarchies that prioritize external validation over personal experience in gender classification. For example, homosexuality was wrongly labeled as a mental illness until people affected fought to change the view. And similar changes happened for transgender identities after their communities challenged old medical definitions. Thus, gender recognition is not merely a question of accurate classification, but of ethical responsibility and social justice. Relying on majoritarian language can harm and exclude transgender people. However, therefore, language norms are not neutral and should be reconsidered when they reinforce social inconsistencies and harm marginalized people. Kapusta here argues that using gender terms is harmful and can be ethically challenged even in academic language. She identifies two forms of misgendering: exclusion and marginalization. Thus, philosophical definitions of woman must be judged not just by theory, but by asking what harm they might cause if applied in real life. Further, family resemblance theories like Corvinus risk treating some transgender women as less legitimate than by introducing degrees of womanhood. By separating classification from ethical naming, they may offer recognition that feels patronizing rather than affirming, undermining self-identification. Such models can reinforce harmful gender hierarchies and contribute to exclusion and injustice. To conclude my paper, I would like to state that philosophical theories about gender should not just aim to define who is or is not a woman in abstract terms. They need to reflect on how the lived experiences of trans people actually are and understand them. For non-passing trans women, recognition and respect as women is not just about logic, but about dignity, inclusion, and justice. This means listening to trans voices and creating theories that support rather than undermine their humanity. Thank you.
Our paper is very interesting and very significant, but in spite of the limited time assigned to her, she has been able to give important highlights. And it's very, very important. Most people misunderstand, misjudge, and they are also harmed. So it's very, very important. So now the paper is open for observation or comments or questions or suggestions. Yeah, please, Professor Fana.
Yeah, thank you so much for this interesting paper. I mean, it's a good one. I enjoyed it, but I have few suggestions. Okay, number one is your paper appears to be as though it is a universally accepted kind of one. But if you look at, especially with regard to the gender, when you look at the cultures, different cultures have different ways of dealing with the binaries. So there are very non-conformist binary attitudes within the cultures across the world. So if you miss that, or if you don't qualify what you are saying, then you will be in trouble. So please be careful about that. Because, for example, if you look at Indian tradition, you will find that many places non-binary conformism exists. Okay, so you have to know what is already there in the culture. Otherwise, people will point out that. Right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, any other observation or comments or suggestion for her? Yeah, please. Okay.
No, I was just wondering that for a robot, gender is so unimportant, isn't it? We never take into consideration the gender of a robot. As she was presenting, I was thinking the difference. Sometimes we tend to confuse between a human and a robot, but other than science fiction movies, gender doesn't play any role in framing a robot, right? I mean, maybe for specific purposes, that is a different issue.
I would like to add something to this. Even though we think that gender, when it comes to AI or robot making, it's not quite important. But rather, the first robot that was introduced to us, rather a cyborg which was introduced to us, still had a female body, which also shows us how so much of the emotional and reproductive labor is exploited out of a woman, which is why we do rely on a woman's body, and that's why a woman's body is often depicted in most of these scenarios. And even with the problem of AI, there's been multiple cases of issues with deepfake issues, which yes, so those are also harming mostly women and marginalized women, not just trans women, trans Dalit women across the societies. Like, we have to also understand why does it always come upon the woman to bear the onus of this. So, like, what harm did we ever do to the society for this to happen to us? So, that is all I have to add. Thank you so much.
So, any other? If not, okay, I think one more. Question. Beyond the binary, how gender, sex, and sexuality fluidity, epistemology from Western standpoint, Indian, Titiya Prakriti. Okay, so joint paper. All right,
No,
okay.
I have a suggestion. If it's a joint paper and you are going to present, I would request Arnav to take seat.
Actually, not. I'll present the Western part.
Oh, okay, he's going to present.
All right, okay, no problem. Please go ahead.
Traditional Western epistemology dealt with questions like what is knowledge, how does the human mind know, what are the objects of knowledge, and so on. However, it has been accused of not only male biases and sexism, but also of phallocentrism, which means a systematic discrimination of women at the conceptual, theoretical, and ideological level. Major philosophers of the traditional era considered women, their traits, and their methods as naturally inferior to men. For example, Aristotle described female as incomplete male and also talked about gender-specific virtues such as a man's courage lies in commanding, whereas a woman's in obeying. Kant reinforced the idea, saying her philosophy is not to reason but to sense. He also maintained that a woman, regardless of her age, is under civil tutelage or incompetent to speak for herself. The characteristics of an ideal knower were set in accordance to the quote-unquote masculine traits such as detached, rational, objective, which they placed in striking contrast with the quote-unquote feminine traits such as emotion, sensitivity. By implication, women were excluded from the category of ideal knower. This male-centric approach not only failed to represent women, but also invisibilized the plurality of gender and sexualities. We also need to keep in mind that the concepts of gender, sex, and sexualities were not also static, but were going through significant changes during this time. During the traditional era, the dominant narratives regarding gender and sexualities were marked by the strict binaries of masculine, feminine, compulsory heterosexuality, biological determinism, and natural attitude. With the changes brought in by psychiatry and feminist scholarships, the understandings related to sex, gender, and sexuality also started to change. With the introductions of the concepts like gender role and gender identity, the process of distinguishing between sex and gender started to emerge. The discrimination against women, even in the epistemic domain, was based on the idea of the quote-unquote essential differences between men and women, rooted in biological ideas. Therefore, the emergence of the distinction between quote-unquote biological sex and quote-unquote psychological gender opened up the avenue to challenge the male-centric biases in every domain, including epistemology. Feminist epistemology reflects on how things are, analyzes their injustices, and explores how we ought to behave as knowers to transform those specific under circumstances into circumstances that will advance inclusive knowing practices and advance knowledge. Feminist epistemology focuses on situativeness. It takes into consideration the different backgrounds, different bodies, and other differences of the knower which affect their lived experiences. Among the various categories of feminist epistemology, feminist standpoint epistemology emerged earlier. They argued that the marginalized groups, because of their experience of being marginalized, experience an epistemic advantage. However, on the other hand, feminist postmodernism argued that the category of woman is not a coherent whole. They criticized the dominant feminist theories by arguing that the theories from the white middle class women authors either exclude or inferiorize lesbian women and the women of color. Judith Butler questioned the concept of woman as an epistemic category and rejected the idea of universal femininity. She argued that not only gender but sex is also a social construct. She questioned for the inclusion of the experiences of trans women and non-heteronormative individuals. Her work is considered to be foundational to queer epistemology. Queer epistemology points out the exclusion of queer people and challenge the traditional cis-heteronormative ways of knowing. It focuses on embodied knowledge, narratives, art, and dialogue, rationality, and queer joy as avenues to acquire knowledge.
Good. Very good. Okay, next one, please go.
From this part, as it seems that it is kind of as the evolution with the evolution of the society, many things have evolved, and there are certain things which is a strict part of knowledge and advancement that has happened only in the Western society and Western civilization. However, because of the time constraint, I am not going into the deep detail, just referring to a few things that, first of all, this is the same soil, that is an Indian soil, where at some point of time in Parashar we can find for which in India a person has to wrestle with the society just about 2000 years later for widow remarriage. And in Parashar we can find that Nashte Mriti Pravarjite Vivecha Patite Pato. And then again, in the context of, if we consider the gender issues, with all respect to the observations that were portrayed by Mundira, by the different philosophers, whether or not that is a social construct, my question is that why we cannot conceptualize this, whereas it is already available in India, to consider it as something, a natural construct. Because again in Parashar and in Satapat Brahman we can find, while that was placed as an example, a father and a son, they are just roaming, and when they found an eunuch, the son asked a father that whether that is a Rakshasa. Pita, ki te Rakshasa? The father is answering, no, te Ardhanarishwara. So in that case, we only conceptualize Ardhanarishwara in the religious text and scriptures and in the religious framework. But here, a father is referring, and that was found that can be found in Shatapat Brahman, that such people were normally accepted by the society. Otherwise, the father's answer would have been something different. Third case is if we consider any literature as a reflection of the society, then again, this is since this is a very well-known issue. That's why I'm just referring it, rather mentioning it. The issue of Shikhandi or Shikhandi. Rather, I should put it like in this way: Shikhandini to Shikhandi in Mahabharata. And in Sadharma Sutra, Shrutokirti has clearly stated, and this is very important, this final two observation and two things. One is Shrudukirti's point that if it is created by God or nature, but if it is knowable, then why can we not consider it as natural? And last, I conclude with this. When in Arthashastra, however, we find Kautilya saying that same-sex marriage is not acceptable, and because of so many same-sex marriage, such and such people should be outcasted or schalita, considered to be as schalita. That means there were many same-sex marriages, at least Kautilya had observed. Otherwise, that particular emphasis of the term meaning wouldn't have been there. Thank you very much. I am again I'm really grateful to Principal Ma'am for allowing us to present these papers. Thank you very much.
Well, very, very interesting gender term deployment wrong very often we do. And even great philosophers, not only Aristotle and Kant, but a lot of us I have observed in many academic forums, so many, not only men, but women themselves, and consciously and intentionally, and sometimes inadvertently, they always use, like for example, man in nature, man, Aristotle is a man, so is mortal, therefore he's the mortal. So we always use men to include even women, thereby women as a separate category is being hidden or suppressed. And including women scholars, unconsciously all of them they used it. So in this direction, I think these two scholars' joint paper is trying to conscientize us that we should be a little more conscious, like John Austin's use of the term can also influence our behavior in a very subtle way. Therefore, it's very important to be very conscious, very, very important paper. And in the West, particularly even in Australia, every 26th January, there will be gays, queers, everybody will have almost naked and demonstrating, having a rally to defy the society, even including orthodox and dogmatic religious people, to make fun of them, to caricature them, to convey their point. So it is in that direction two of the joint presenters have very beautifully highlighted. It's very, very nice and very meaningful. So give a clap.
Yeah, I just want to point out one thing. Yeah, thank you so much for this interesting one. Actually, there is another story from Mahabharata that I don't know. Aravan story. If you don't know that, this is a very important one. Aravan is a son of Arjuna and Udupi.
Yes.
And he is
I just
there is a temple in Tamil Nadu where worship of this happens.
I visited.
You know that? Okay.
I actually wanted to cut it short.
I think it's an interesting piece of work. I would like to possibly ask you to also consider the possibility that the representation of figures that do not conform to gender binary in myths and mythologies do not adequately represent the lived realities in these societies. So, for example, there is work by, for example, JP, who happens to be a trans woman, about the experiences of Indras. They are called Kurmali or something, I forget the exact name. It does not really correspond to the rather positive rendition that you find in a lot of these epics. So, basing or using these epics as your data to make a claim about social practices that existed 2000 years back, it's fallacious. So, we should be really careful about the kind of data we employ and what we want to infer from that. Otherwise, it becomes a bit problem.
Actually, I have referred not only ethics, some other literary books which were based upon and still available and which were actually practiced. Books like Arthashastra, books like Dharma Sutram and Shatpadu Brahman and Parashastra.
because those books were written for the different types of people of the society, and that was a kind of considered as a kind of a code book or law book.
It might be useful to possibly look at information that comes from the market instead of making claims about it. That is my.
Yes, of course.
To take literature that is really coming from the sector and how they depict the margins might not possibly.
No. I just actually in the whole paper we have explained the things from different dimensions. Because of the time constraint, I have simply referred certain things which were available. I mean, these things are not that it is completely post Renaissance or post Enlightenment or post modern Western thought and something which was completely alien, and those people who are actually either proposing or opposing are making a nuisance debate or something. No, this is something which can be found in much earlier era, and that was always there with the evolution of the social dynamics. That was the simple.
Just one thing. I do agree with your argument that the text, whatever is written in the text, will not represent the society. I agree with that. But it has its own limitations. Even this perspective has its own limitations because some of the texts, especially in Indian tradition, are not texts in that sense. For example, Mahabharata is, you can see a text of Mahabharata, but text of Mahabharata is enacted by the villagers. So it's also a tradition, it's also a performing tradition, and it's also part of the lives of the people. If you go to some of the places, the temple that I'm referring to, Aravan temple, where in fact transgender people go there, they celebrate, and they are the gods there, and other people do go to take their blessings. So I mean, it's not just there in the text; it is being it's on the ground. So that is how some of the texts, I do agree with your point. But there are some of the texts which are not just texts, they are traditions.
So if there are multiple interpretations, then probably or multiple renditions of a particular. We have to be
I
mindful
agree.
of this polarity as well.
I agree, but I mean, there are some few things which are actually practiced at the ground level. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Very quickly.
Okay, we'll give them a round of applause. Well done.
So thank you, sir, for your nice sharing. Arguments must go on. वो तो जाते रहेंगे, लेकिन वक्त ही कमी के बारे में हम कभी भी तो रुकना पड़ता है. तो आशा करता हूँ अगले भी इस सेमिनार को आपको देखने में सौभाग्य मिलेगा. मैम यहाँ है और इससे स्कॉलर हमारे यहाँ आएंगे, ये आशा करता हूँ. So this is the last time to conclude our session. The last three paper presenters, they will get a certificate and token of love from our Rupamodar Chaudhary ma'am. আপনাকে আবার কষ্ট দিতে চাচ্ছি ম্যাম, আপনাকে দিলে আপনি আমার মার মতো আবার একটু আসেন আর এদেরকে আপনি সার্টিফিকেট আর টোকেন বাদ দিয়ে একটু আশীর্বাদ দিবেন. ডক্টর জয়িতা আজ্ঞা, you are requested to receive the certificate from our Rupamodra ma'am and a token of love from the organizer committee. And next, Srita Bose. Srita Bose, you are requested to receive your certificate and token of love. And last but not the least, Mandira Gusal, you are requested to come and to have your certificate and token of love from the Rupamodra Chaudhary ma'am. And our Guwahati team, they are ready to go because they may miss the bus. So all are requested to come in for queue and to take a last valid photograph. पहले फोटो खींच लेंगे, इसके बाद हम फोटो थैंक्स देके हम बटन मंदिरा गुस्साल. May I request our Mao sir, our respected Bala sir, our Vikram sir, Asher sir, our photograph, all the GPUs and other the research scholars, please come in front queue. And this is the last hour. You be careful, boys.
Please,
I'll get a photo.
Are you visible?
Yeah, of course, some of
Visible.
সন্মুখত বহি দিয়া আমার মোবাইল টাইপ আমার মোবাইলে কিছু লাগে আমার মোবাইলে কিছু লাগে
maybe guys can also put it on the left side this is
इधर आ रहा है क्या कवर हो रहा है I'm from small थोड़ा उधर से करना है
जाके चेयर पे खड़े हो जाते
দীপাঙ্কর তুমি র্যান্ডম ক্লিক করো रेडी सिटी को 1 2 3 रेडी
स्माइल करना पड़ेगा क्या
सब लोग यहाँ देखेगा रेडी
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Guwahati team. And you may leave now.
थैंक यू सो मच
Meet you in person. From 3 years I was trying to meet you in person. We have
একটি বিফোর পিরিয়ডে আমার মোট অফ থ্যাঙ্কস একটি বাক্য আপনার মন থেকে ওভারঅল অর্গানাইজেশন সম্পর্কে আপনি কি বলবেন একটি বাক্য নিব আমরা লম্বা বক্তব্য দিব না
Yeah, I have some comments to make. We must first all appreciate this was a national standard seminar organized by a person without on philosophy but without a philosophy department. So this is her, to her credit that without a single student and faculty in philosophy, the seminar was conducted. And we all have seen the effort of a single person, how she ran from pillar to post to conduct a seminar. And 2-3 more important things I would like to tell all of you, because when we conduct seminars, there are tea breaks, loss of time. The way she had offered us tea and snacks, I would feel like we could sustain. I mean, the time was saved. And so many papers. And third thing is the presence of a medical team. We never do that. So this is something very exceptional. So we wish good luck to the college and hopefully very soon a department of philosophy will be there.
Thank you, sir. One sentence from your mouth.
What to say? I really enjoyed being here, and thanks a lot to Dr. Namita Kalita. As I said, even before my presentation, I mean, she was there from the beginning. You know? In between, also she called with activism and said, "You have to come." And actually, I don't have leaves. Next week, I'm supposed to go to some other university for a conference. I cancelled that. I said I gave a word to her. I should be here. That's what I did. And I'm so happy that I had come here, and everything went so well. Yeah, meticulously you have organized. She already mentioned all that. But I also see the coordination from other friends who have joined, who have come, students and other friends. She has very good network.
The team.
You know, yeah, team, which is outside there's a college even. You know, that's what represents this cohesive.
You missed the inaugural session.
Sorry.
You missed the inaugural session.
Yeah, I missed it. It's my loss, I know. But thank you so much for this wonderful invitation. I really cherish these moments. Thank you.
Only thing I would like to mention that I'm one of the witness that from arranging the seminar, conducting the different person, and in fact from the buying the stationery, preparing the labels and making the gift in each and every aspect and each and everything in the seminar. I have personally noticed that how she has left no stone unturned. I have my deepest regards for this single-handed show, and at some point of time, even she, ma'am, called me around 10:30, 11 to say certain things that this has done, this much is still left, and what is your opinion? And I'm just nobody, a trivial philosophy student, but since we had a good relationship, and madam, in each and every moment, she has informed me that this is the thing that has done, and these are the things that are yet to be done. But I found that in each and every point that was under her supervision. Really, really a wonderful leader this college. I mean, wonderful architect the student have. Thank you.
Thank you. Vikram sir, one sentence.
Thank you everyone who is part of organizing this national conference, and I am extremely thankful to Namita. And we have come to know now for the first time, but I'm sure like this is going to be long-term friendship. And as a colleague, I really respect now this small place. You have made such a grand celebration of this academic event. And hearty congratulations. It's not an easy task, we all know. Chairing a 3-day conference is very tiring, and you could successfully do it. Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Kashyap sir, one sentence. You are engaging today whole day, online, offline, paper presentation, representation, all the day you are busy, but last sentence, not the least.
I would like to thank the principal and all the staff and the students of this college. They made us feel at home, and I must commend I must commend them on the fact that they managed to run this whole thing efficiently. Big, I mean, I wish I could say more than I can do. I could do more than just say thank you, but I guess for now, thank you to have this service, and hopefully we'll meet again next time. All the best for your future.
Thank you, sir. Mau sir, you are bombastic word. I need this. Okay, your speech gives us a heart throb in our mind. Whenever you speak, we feel very energetic. How strong, how energetic you are. The last word from you, sir.
Well, in short, I can only say that all of you, led by the captain, Namita, you all have wonderfully really arranged. And I would say, in agreement with Professor Mopamudra, not in any seminar or international seminar, I never got before so many items. And then tea, snack, good quality, constantly keep flowing like river. Really. So we were all really feel so good about it. And the quality of the papers were also good, really good. And seeing people from so many places is also not so easy. So my big congratulations and deep appreciation to all of you, particularly your captain, Namita Kalita, for the great sacrifices that you all have made. Literally, I will not be able to make this much, frankly speaking. I won't be able to manage. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. I cannot express good of thanks to all of you. That means ma'am asked me, but being the chief organizer, the one-man architect, one-man captain, just I will request ma'am just to go herself to all the Indian community of philosophy that have gathered here. आप सिर्फ जितना आपका प्रशंसा करें उतना कम होगा, लेकिन ये good of thanks मुझसे नहीं होगा. आप सिर्फ एक बार नमन कर दीजिए, आगे आप और बढ़ते जाएंगे. ये last speech from you.
So, आपने हिंदी में बोला, तो मैं भी बोलना चाहूँगी. I have been broken twice. जब आप सफेद कपड़ा पहनकर आते हैं, तब आपको एम्बुलेंस जैसे लगते हैं. लेकिन फर्क इतना है, एम्बुलेंस घायल लोग को ले जाते हैं और आप लोग घायल करके देते हैं. So thank you everyone, each and everyone, and I apologize for all the inconvenience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now it's time to respect our country. Let's stand and to join our national anthem. So all of you are requested to stand on your position and let's end to sing the national anthem.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Jai Hind. Thank you. Long live ICPR, long live Borough System College, long live all the school departments. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
আপনার শরীর ঠিক আছে? বাইরে বসেছিলেন তখন
but who have somewhat similar to what is classified as gender. So we classified as a man or a woman. Like name she's a trans person.
Thank you. Bye bye. Khatam. Hence, similarity in